Hello friends, welcome to the EduSat Network. Our today's topic of discussion is technologies and issues in academic libraries, and for this discussion we have this in studio two subject experts, Dr. VKJ Jeevan, Deputy Librarian IGNOU. He has an experience of being in this field for 20 years, and our another subject expert, Dr. Manohar Tripathi, Deputy Librarian, Central Library, Jawaharlal Nehru University, who has also been associated with us on previous occasions talking about different topics related to library science. And with this I would like to welcome both of them and request them to begin today's lecture.
As we all know, a university is a group of buildings surrounded around a library. This statement very appropriately sums up the importance of libraries. Libraries exist to support and foster the vision and mission of their parent institutions. They support the academic, information and research needs of the students, researchers and faculty members of the universities. In fact, they say there are instances in literature, it has been well said, that libraries are the oldest information institution under the sun. There are references in the literature that libraries existed even 5,000 to 8,000 years ago, when priests were entrusted with the responsibility of generating, organizing and disseminating information. So this shows how old are the libraries and how they have changed. Today we are going to focus on how they have changed and evolved with the use of ICTs. As we all know, there has been a paradigm shift. ICTs have impacted each and every field, and similarly, libraries too have been influenced by the arrival of these technologies. Libraries have experienced change in collection, procurement, processing, and the way information is being discovered and retrieved. There has been complete transformation with regard to how the books are processed. For example, earlier in manual system, books were processed and bibliographical details were entered in the OPEC. Now, in online environment, with regard to e-books, mark records are readily available, are made available by the vendors, and they are easily then loaded into the OPEC of any library. And for e-journals, links to home page are provided and full text is easily accessible. Library provides link to home page or full text of the journal through the automated software which it uses. Then earlier in manual system, for stock verification, we were doing it physically. We were using self-list to check the availability of books in the stacks. Issue return was being done by issuing readers tickets to the users, and book tickets. The concept of book tickets and readers tickets was very much in existence. Now, with the advent of technologies, it has given way to our use of RFID, where readers are facilitated to go for self-issue and return. And physical verification of the books, it is easily facilitated by the use of RFID or barcode technology. RFID, as it's the acronym which refers to small electronic devices that consists of a small chip and an antenna. The chip is capable of carrying 2000 bytes of data or less, and this RFID provides a unique identifier for an object. The RFID device must be scanned to retrieve the identifying information. There has been a paradigm shift in collection development too. Earlier in the manual system, we had books. Now we are actively procuring e-books. Journals, we had possession of physical issues of journals. Now we have everything online. Journals are available in electronic format and which are commonly known as e-journals. We had physical thesis. Now with the advent of technologies, we have e-thesis, and information libraries and information centers are actively taking concerted efforts to set up institutional repositories. Earlier we had ownership of the various resources. That means libraries held physical possession. They had under their possession physical volumes of journals, books, theses and dissertations, CDs. But now the model has shifted from ownership to access. That means now we are libraries no longer aim to or no longer focus to have the physical ownership of various forms of documents or various forms of carriers of information. Rather, library focuses to provide access to them, to those resources to the users. So now there has been shift from ownership, from physical ownership to providing access to various scholarly content to the users. Just in case model to just in time. Earlier in manual system, libraries were focusing on just in case model. That means collection was developed keeping in mind that users may need it in future. That means collection was developed. It was based on speculations, it was based on rough estimations that books may be used by the users in future, and of course there was no certainty or guarantee that particular book or journal will be used. But now things have changed. In online environment, collection is developed keeping in mind just-in-time model. That means resources are procured just before the need arises. So that is where is the difference, where the difference lies in collection development too. From just-in-case model, we have shifted to just-in-time. As it says, just-in-case procurement was based on speculations and rough estimation. There was no certainty or guarantee that the procured books and journals would be used. And now in online environment, for example, what happened in manual system, when books were procured, a request was submitted by a user. That request was discussed and approved in the library committee with budgetary allocation. Order was placed with the vendor, book was procured, it was processed physically and technically, and it was placed in stacks and students were allowed to use the book. Whereas in online environment, with the advent of technology, we are procuring e-books, and procurement is patron-driven acquisition. That means books are there, online books are available in the collection for the students to use. A particular e-book is noticed by a student, it is browsed, the user accesses a particular e-book, and it's only purchased, it's only procured after the book receives a pre-decided number of hits. Once it is done, book becomes part of library collection. So we have seen the difference here. Earlier we were procuring books assuming that books would be used in future, but in online we are having patron-driven acquisition. That means we are procuring the books only after an e-book has received a pre-decided number of usages. That means a book has been accessed fixed number of times, only then a book is used, or in simple terms, a book is used keeping in mind its usage, how many times it has been used, and accordingly library procures the same. Interlibrary loan, what it happens in manual system, of course these things do exist side by side. It's not that these manual system has completely given way to online system. We are having both kinds of models. And interlibrary loan, what happens when a library doesn't have a book which its user needs, then it takes efforts, makes an effort to procure the same from some other library. It happens in interlibrary loan. And in online model, what happens is, it is known as rental model. That means when a particular book is required by a user and it's not there in the collection of e-books which a library holds, so in such a case a user is free to make request for a particular part or chapter of the book. Then library requests it to the vendor, and the vendor opens the access of that particular book for some time, say for a week or two, and after that the student uses and access is withdrawn. As it happened in manual system, students were provided books from other libraries. They used the book for a couple of weeks and the books were returned. Similarly, it is happening in online environment. The vendor provides access to a book for a week or two and the user uses it, and after that access is withdrawn. Similarly, articles and chapters on demand. This online environment facilitates this provision too. That means instead of procuring the whole book, a particular article or chapter can also be procured, which was not possible in manual system. You know, if a book is required, if a chapter is required from a book, whole book has to be bought. And then naturally, after with passage of time, major consortia, they came up. Consortia, as you know, it's a group of libraries when they come together to share various information resources or various services. These consortia, they came after 1995 or 2000, and these technologies, the easy availability of technologies, they facilitate the functioning and formation of these consortia. For example, we have INDEST consortia, which focuses on engineering and technology fields. UGC Infonet, it provides coverage or it provides access to scholarly content from all the fields: sciences, humanities, social sciences. SERA is consortium of resources from the field of agriculture and allied fields. DALCON is for life sciences and allied fields. FORSA is for astronomy and astrophysics, and so on and so forth. There are various advantages of consortia. They help in finalizing agreements with vendors. For example, libraries are buying EResources, and for that they have to finalize terms and agreements, and an individual library may not have competent staff, or the staff may not be competent enough to finalize the terms and agreements. So in this case, a consortium does help. Then sharing of resources, libraries through consortia, through a consortium initiatives, they share various EResources, various journals and other documents, because no library can be self-dependent because of various reasons like multiplicity of document, limited budget, paucity of staff, storage problems. So these are the factors which lead to formation of consortia, and libraries are actively resorting to consortia initiatives in order to cater to the information needs of their users. Interlibrary loan and document delivery services, helping distance learners. These are the advantages of forming consortia. Then catalog. Earlier in manual system, we were having book catalogs and card catalogs. Then with the advent of technology came, we started using various softwares for automating various housekeeping operations, and then online public access catalog was it arrived on the scene, and a catalog was accessible through computers within the intranet or within the four walls of that library. But then further advances in technology led to this web OPAC, and OPAC of a library could be accessed from any part of the globe. And this is the present condition too. And then another feature, another advanced feature or another step which library took has been the easy use of these web discovery tools, which leads to easy discoverability and retrieval information through web scale discovery services. Web scale discovery services refer to tools which index a vast multitude of resources in a wide variety of formats and allow users to search for content in the physical collection, print and electronic journal collection, and other resources from the single search box. Some of the examples of these web discovery tools are EDS, EBSCO Discovery Services, and Summon, which is being provided by ProQuest. That means instead, when we did not have these services, library, for example, library had very many resources. What students used to do, if they wanted to access, if a student wanted to have some information on, say, corruption in society, then what he used to do, he used to log into a particular database, say JSTOR, find out what was available on that particular topic, download the relevant articles, log out of that database, log in, then after that log into another database, just downloaded the information which he could extract, and similarly he went on from using interface of one database to another in order to extract, in order to retrieve the information which library had to offer through these different databases. So it was time consuming, and at times he could not, if he did not use proper keywords, he could not extract the full information which was available there. But through this facility, libraries are helping their researchers and saving their time too, because through a single search interface, users can easily find out what is available on a particular topic of their interest in different databases. So for example, if a researcher is working on corruption in society, he just keys in these keywords through a single search interface, and whatever articles are available in different databases which are being listed on the website, then all will be displayed through a single search interface, through a single query. So that is the advantage of these discovery tools. And issue and return, as I highlighted earlier in one of the slides, that it was manually done with reader tickets and book cards, but now library have shifted to single library, libraries have users, they usually get single library card, and borrowing privileges and other details are controlled by the integrated library management software which the library uses. And now some of the libraries have gone ahead and they are using RFI technology for self-issue and return. Now, as we know, there has been paradigm shift in the way users seek information. Earlier we were providing place-based services. That means users had to visit the libraries in order to seek information, in order to get information which they wanted for their academic or research needs. But now with the arrival of technologies, things have changed. There has been change in the way users seek information. They are no longer interested in coming to the libraries. So libraries have to take initiative, they have to take concerted efforts to go to them wherever they are. So with this aim in mind, libraries are providing remote access to users. That means users can access the online resources which library offers from any time, from anywhere, and this facility is known as single sign-on facility. That means through a single username and password, the users are facilitated to access all the online resources which the library offers from the comfort of their home, from their laboratory, from their office, or from any part of the world as they know, as they want to, as per their convenience. So this is also known as embedded librarianship. That means a library has to provide access, has to outreach to them, not only through the resources, but library has to provide them all the information resources as well as human resources whenever and wherever the users wants. Libraries worldwide, they aim to provide equitable access to information to one and all. And so under this, the libraries aim to help those users who have some kind of disability, that means who cannot use the print format. Libraries for that make use of assistive technologies in order to help people, or in order to help users who are visually challenged. As the slide shows, assistive technology is an umbrella term that includes assistive, adaptive, and rehabilitative devices for people with disabilities. It promotes greater independence by enabling people to perform tasks which they were formerly unable to accomplish or had great difficulty in accomplishing. So libraries are using, in order to help the visually challenged students, libraries are using various softwares which changes the text into audio. For example, libraries have earmarked a particular section where visually challenged students, they can come and use. They have put various computers which are loaded with special software like Kurzweil libraries use in order to convert the text into audio format, and where users can use earphones to listen to the text. JAWS, it helps in accessing computer. Magic, there are students who are not completely blind, but they have some vision problem, partially sighted, and this Magic, it magnifies the screen many times, more than 10 to 15 times, and this way they are helping. They are using these technologies to help the visually challenged students in their academic endeavors. Then mobile website, as I said, there has been paradigm shift in the way users seek information. They are not interested in coming to the library for getting information which they require. So mobile websites have come into picture. When websites are designed for various mobile screens, as we know, where students or users are very actively using smartphones, iPad, tablets, laptops, etc. So libraries aim to provide access to all our resources through these mobile websites too. And various libraries are taking concerted efforts to provide their content of their websites, which is customized according to these mobile devices which the students are actively using, and various vendors of various scholarly journals, and they are also providing customized content for various mobile devices. But then now efforts are being made to provide device neutral digital services. As the slide tells, but now it is no longer enough for libraries and their partners to design digital services for only desktops or mobile phones. A solution which is growing in popularity is responsive design, which facilitates having only one website that automatically adapts to the size of the screen. That means there should only be one content. For example, right now content is being customized, but now the demand is, the concerted efforts are being made to provide only one content that should be designed or that should be formatted in such a way that it should be able to adapt itself to the various screen sizes. At present, various vendors and journals, they are just providing they are not offering device neutral solutions, but efforts are on to provide such content. This is the website of University of Toronto, and they have developed this responsive catalog. This is an example of responsive redesign. That means there should be only one website, and it should be formatted, it should be designed in such a manner that it will be able to adapt itself according to various screen sizes. So this I already covered, that there has been change in information seeking behavior. Earlier students were visiting the library and perambulating among shelves in order to seek, in order to get a particular book, but that gave way to use of laptops. Laptops became very, desktops and laptops, computers, they became very common, and now the users are actively using mobile devices in order to get information which they need. You will do now? हाँ? नहीं सर, हो नहीं गया, बट अब फिर आपका टाइम मुझे. अच्छा. What other things libraries are doing? Libraries are supporting open access. Open access, as we know, it is provision or it is provision of scholarly content to all. That means it aims to provide access to scholarly content without charging. It's free. It aims to provide scholarly content to the users without charging anything. So libraries are supporting and advocating open access. They are setting up institutional repositories at their universities, which aims to provide provide access to all the research which is generated at that particular university. It provides access to all theses and dissertations, all the scholarly articles which are being published from the by the faculty members of that particular university, and other annual report, other things like annual report, project reports, all are provided access to these institutional repositories. Then another thing which is libraries are taking concerted efforts to provide, they are developing data management plans, data description, efficient storage and management, reuse, because the different journals, for example, journals of like Biomed Journal, PLOS Journal, they have given out a policy that the manuscript, the authors who submit their manuscripts and whatever data is being used in order to arrive at conclusions or in order to arrive those findings, that should be made accessible in open domain. That should be accessible to one and all so that others can reuse it. So they have to sign, the users who submit to biomedical journal, biomed central journals or PLOS journals, they have to ensure that whatever data they used in order to arrive at certain findings, that data should be, underlying data should be made available in open access. So it's the responsibility of libraries to offer, to store those data and to make them available in open access so others can use, reuse. With this aim in mind, they are developing various digital repository. Libraries are offering author copyright advice. That means when they are developing institutional repositories, they request the authors to submit the preprints or postprints of their articles which have already been published in various journals to their institutional repositories. And at times archiving of preprints and postprints differs from publisher to publisher. So in this context, they are supposed to give advice to researchers whether they can archive preprint or postprint. Of course, this information is available on individual websites too, but libraries have an active role to play in order to teach, in order to disseminate the researchers on this aspect. Management of research data sets, metadata creation, data description, how the data will be taken from the students, in what format, and how it will be stored, and these things they have to work on, and libraries are taking concerted efforts on these various aspects. And libraries are undertaking digitization activities too. Digitization is production of a digital copy, surrogate version of a physical document. Libraries undertake digitization projects in order to preserve the documents for future generations, for wider disseminations, anytime, anywhere action, protection of original rare copies. Libraries have some original collection dating, which is at times more than 300 to 400 years old, and with passage of time the pages become brittle. So in order to protect safeguard, in order to protect those original copies and to further disseminate, they usually resort to digitization. That means such rare collection is digitized and it's made accessible to the users. And in this manner, original copy is protected, is not allowed to be used. So there are advantages of digitization activities which libraries are actively undertaking. That is preservation, content is preserved, and original document is preserved. Wider dissemination, if something is in digital form, then users can access it. anytime and anywhere access is possible. Their users need not physically come to the library in order to consult those sources. Then of course original copy is protected. Then Shodh Ganga, this is an example of open access. As we know, UGC notification 2009 mandates submission of electronic version of thesis and dissertations by researchers in universities with an aim to facilitate open access to Indian theses and dissertations to the academic community worldwide. Online availability of electronic thesis through centrally maintained digital repositories not only ensures easy access and archiving of Indian doctoral thesis, but also helps in raising the standard and quality of research. Shodh Ganga, under Shodh Gangotri Research in Progress, under this initiative, Shodh Gangotri research scholars, research supervisors in universities are requested to deposit electronic version of approved synopsis submitted by research scholar to the universities for registering themselves for PhD program. The repository on one hand would reveal the trends and direction of research being conducted in Indian universities. On the other hand, it would avoid duplication of research. Synopsis in Shodh Gangotri would later be linked to full thesis in Shodh Ganga. So this is an example of open access under UGC notification 2009. All universities are supposed to submit their theses and dissertations in electronic form to Shodh Ganga, which is a repository of theses and dissertations maintained at InflibNet Center. So all universities, once they submit, and all the theses will be available in open access. That means whatever is at present, more than 18,000 theses are available in Shodh Ganga. That means anyone can access that full text from any part of the globe. And this open access to theses and dissertations of Indian universities have very many advantages. For example, the research gets more visibility across the world. People can know what research is being conducted in Indian universities. Visibility is enhanced, and then duplication of efforts can be avoided. For example, if a researcher wants to take up some project, he can easily access and browse what is already available in Shodh Ganga and Shodh Gangotri in order to find out what are the trends, what subjects have already been covered, what areas have already been touched upon, have already been researched upon, and accordingly he can select his research topic so that there is no duplication of efforts and no dissipation of energy. Nothing is repeated unnecessarily. Then in this connection, libraries are offering anti-plagiarism software. And as we know, plagiarism is a form of academic misconduct, and it has to be avoided at all cost. And libraries are taking concerted efforts to spread awareness about academic and research conduct. They are offering two basic facilities, two basic plagiarism detection services to their users, that is Turnitin and iAuthenticate. And these softwares, they help in the users in originality check. By using these softwares or plagiarism detection services, users, students or researchers can check the originality of their submissions. And peer review, originality check, it does the work of text matching. That means once the draft has been submitted, has been uploaded, the service matches the content of the uploaded draft with the online resources which have already been published, and then it generates an originality report. The users or students are supposed to make changes with regard to the originality report which is generated. Then peer review, it's another facility which these Turnitin offers. It helps the users. Students learn not only from teachers, but they learn from each other. So through this peer review facility, students are free. They can anonymously check their each other's papers, evaluate each other's papers, or this can be attributed to. Grade mark, then this is a very important feature which this facility offers. That means instead of manually checking the drafts or assignments of the students, the teachers can electronically check and offer various comments, which instantly reaches to the users. And this way, these facilities, anti-plagiarism facilities or plagiarism detection services, they promote academic integrity across the user community. Now reference services, earlier we were offering face-to-face reference services, but now we are using, libraries are actively using social media network, which are web-based tools which facilitates sharing, interaction, collaboration, like blogs, instant messaging. These social media networking sites, they are being used by the libraries in order to provide virtual reference services. And other social media sites like Facebook, Twitter, they are also actively used by the libraries to promote their collections and services. Orientation programs are actively being organized by the libraries, as the studies have shown that there is a correlation between orientation programs and students' grades, performance, and researchers' productivity. They have prepared, libraries are actively preparing online tutorials and providing them on their websites in order to familiarize the students with the content and coverage and the facilities which the different databases offer. Now, with these facilities, these technologies offer, libraries are faced with a number of challenges too. Libraries have to compete with Google. That means students are no longer interested in coming to the library and using the resources of the library. Library is no longer the first choice of destination for the users. Rather, they are more impressed. They are more impressed with Google. That Google is being used to such an extent that it has become a kind of verb for everyone. People are using this word as Google. I Googled this. I Googled that. So libraries have to compete with Google. Libraries have to prove their values to the authorities. At times it has been observed that authorities feel that they can manage without the libraries, and so libraries have to prove themselves. They have to tell that they have lot of worth. They exist. Without them, the research and academic needs of the users will remain unmet. Another challenge which library does have, at times there are no competent staff is not there. Competent staff in order to cater to the changing demands and expectations of the users is not there. And it has also been, in one side it has been observed that the competent staff is not there. At the same time, it has also been observed that due to proliferation of library science schools, supply exceeds demand, and students which come out, library science graduates which come out, they do not have adequate skills in order to cater to the changing demands and expectations of the user community. And as a result of these challenges, it has also been observed that students are not coming to libraries in big numbers as they used to come in the past. So some of the solutions which can be offered, we need to have trained staff which should be competent, which should be trained and which should be competent in order to cater to the changing demands and expectations in the changing scene. Training, and once the staff has been appointed, that it's not enough. They need to be trained at regular intervals. Continuing education has lot of importance in this context. Then our library science curriculum also needs a change. When we say we are professionals, we are public professionals like doctors and lawyers, then we also need to have internship, as internship is there in their fields. So internship should be made an integral component. We should have one syllabus across the country. And importance of library as a physical space which we need to communicate to others, because students think library doesn't have importance as a place, but library will always have importance as a physical place, because the joy of perambulating, the importance of moving among the stacks is very high. Once the students move among stacks, they come across new journals, new books which maybe they did not know about it, and this is where this has been studied, this has been researched upon, and this phenomenon is known as serendipity of information. That means users come across information by accident which they do not know about if they use stacks, if they move among stacks and physically visit the library. Then in online environment, what happens, students are merely searching for the information, they are not reading the information. They just, it has also been observed that students in online environment, they just hop from one site to another. They do not do in-depth study at a particular website. So, and this has been commonly termed as squirreling behavior, as a squirrel hops from one place to another. In online environment too, users don't study, they just hop from one website to another without doing any in-depth study. So, as a physical space, when users come from students come from the different disciplines, they interact, they collaborate with one another, they exchange ideas, and this exchange of ideas may trigger formation of new ideas, or may trigger generation of new knowledge. So, libraries will always have importance as a physical place, and it does need to be communicated.
Yes, so we would now request Sir to share his ideas with us.
Thank you, Manoramaji, for presenting all the top technology trends, what is impacting our libraries today. This American ACR, Association of College and Research Libraries, every 2 years they bring out the top trends, and I think the latest one of 2014, she has looked at those trends from the Indian context. Now, another importance is that some of the important points she stressed is the value of libraries. Librarians have to, many a time we have to explain the utility of libraries. So, I think it's better to concentrate on this aspect during the remaining time. You see this UK SCONER, this University Libraries Association, they have brought out some 16 reasons to value academic libraries. They say that one of the best definitions of a library is that it's not a repository. The main role of a library is not to store information, but it basically tells us that what sort of information is available and how to find out this information. So, this sort of a referral work is our major role in the upcoming hybrid library scenario we operate. See, the library continues to fulfill its role as the heart of the university. See that library is nothing but a group of, university is nothing but a group of buildings gathered around a library. So, at least that is the importance of library for an academic institution. Now, so the first reason to stress about the value of academic libraries is that it is the heart of the university. And even though we move from print to electronic resources, and see earlier the print resources, user should have to come to library and they can access only from the four corners of the library building. But with electronic information, nowadays we are just a facilitator, we are only providing access to resources, and the students are encouraged to access these resources from their hostels, from their departments, like that. So, that's why not much traffic is visible in the library. But when you look at the usage data of electronic resources, you can find out that the resources are used, and the work the library undertakes contributes directly to the institution's academic mission. There are studies which said which confirm that those institutions with a better library, they have a better academic impact, they have better research publications, the teachers are able to publish more, they are able to gather more patents. Like nowadays in our country also, there are in papers we see that why none of the universities in India are not in the top rankings. I think one reason is that we are See, the problem is that the allocation is very less. We are not able to compete with the infrastructure what is created by advanced countries. So by creating better libraries, I think we can also move ahead in the ratings. See, libraries high level of expenditure on resources, like in 2010-11 in UK, they spend around £682 million, maintain their place as a world leader in higher education. But they say that it's due to this. See, the information library resources, they are very costly because they are produced with lot of expert input in every stage. So that is why journals and electronic resources are very costly. So this library's high level of expenditure on resources, it helped universities to maintain their place as a world leader in higher education. Now, investment in EResources has a direct impact on the productivity of an institution. Like in our country also, we have seen that the best university level institution is regarded as the Indian Institute of Science in Bangalore, which spends, I think, Library of Indian Institute of Science Bangalore has the highest budget in the country. They spend a lot of money on journals, books and electronic resources. So that's why they are able to publish very good quality research papers in high impact journals. Then where academics and students have good access to e-content, effectively the library is now open 24 hours irrespective of building opening hours, and finding books and journals has become fast and immediate. So earlier the time spent on literature survey was maybe the researchers used to spend more than 1 year on literature survey, but nowadays these things can be done in a much shorter time. Another reason to stress on the value of libraries is that, see, the economic benefits of a university library are very considerable. This is based on a research in the US. A number of studies have undertaken on economic benefit analysis, showing that accessing a book or journal through the library saves significant time and resources. For example, academics at the University of Pittsburgh, they spend an average of 7 minutes and $2.1 for finding the information they need, and they won't get the information so fast and at such a less cost from any other route. For an individual university, good quality library resources can help attract and retain academic high flyers and contribute to the prestige of an institution. This may not be valid in our context because we have fixed tenure positions, whereas in advanced countries they have a short tenure where the good academics they try to get a position in a better institution, and one parameter they apply is to find out how strong is the library. Now, like students, see, there is a demand that you have seen that in good institutions, like you see there for every one seat in IIT there may be thousands or more than 1,000 students will be competing. Why they are competing? Because they have better infrastructure and they know that once they get into an IIT their career is assured. Now, so and IIT libraries are no doubt they are the best in the country, and so these resources can also help universities to attract and retain good graduate students. Now, the quality and depth of resources are also a determinant of the quality of research a university's academics can produce. Like we have noticed that in recent years publications from our country has also increased in impact factor journals. One reason is that due to this consortia initiatives what she has stressed, the researchers in our country are also able to access more number of electronic journals, and which help them to, because if your research is based on the latest trends in the discipline, then naturally your research will be of quality and good journals will be interested in publishing your work. Per capita expenditure and use of e-journals is strongly and positively correlated with the papers published, number of PhDs produced, and number of research grants and other project income the university received. Many institutions will also involve their library staff in the process of research, like librarians are, like in advanced countries, librarians are playing a major role in preparing funding proposals, because they are able to support what is the latest trend and which are the competitors. So this sort of information a librarian can provide better than the concerned researchers. Universities which invest in their library see a return in terms of the quality of grant applications they are able to make, and ultimately therefore to grant income. Research in the US looked at the return on investment, like in our country also. Nowadays librarians are asked to stress upon the return on investment when they ask for extra grants. And the US study showed that a return of $4.38 in grant income for every dollar invested in 2006. That means almost 4 times return in the institution, and they have not found such sort of a return in any other entity in the university. So that also further highlight the value of a library in the academic setup. The library is much more than a passive repository for knowledge. Like she has stressed on library as a place. Like nowadays we don't see much students in the many students in the library, because they can access these resources from like e-books. They can copy the whole book. Earlier they have to come and issue the book, and sometimes book bank scheme where only limited copies of the books were held in the library only, so that they have to come and read. Nowadays they can easily copy this whole e-books and read it at their convenience. But the library as a service, library as a place and the library as a service are central to the experience. Like see, they can do peer group interaction and some sort of a combined study and discussion. All those things they can do in the library only. The library represents an important point of continuity for students during their time at the university, as does their relationship with its staff. This growing understanding of the role of librarian as a student advisor is now helping to drive convergence between the library and support services within the higher education institutions. The quality of the library is more important even than teaching contact time for prospective students, considering which university to attend. Satisfaction with library services, like in US, students rate that library is is the 8th factor. Means they consider other factors also, but library, if they opted for a good library in the institution where they are going to take admission. Despite the move to EResources, students are visiting their university library more often and spending more time when they do. Particularly in the arts and humanities, undergraduates may well spend more time with their librarian than with their lecturer, because I don't think this may not be applicable in our case, because the traditional image of the librarian in India is more that that person is more busy with administrative activities, so he or she won't get much time to interact with students. But we are witnessing a lot of changes, that library is providing a lot of orientation programs, and in fact a student can easily walk into a librarian's room and ask for something which he or she may hesitate to a teacher. So that's why we are witnessing a lot of such queries, and this is also some sort of a learning process for us, that this will help us to, like in collection development and in creating new services. Such sort of input from the students and other users definitely help. Universities which succeed in engaging students to use library resources and rewarded with higher academic outcomes among those students. Comparable research in South Africa and US also has given similar results. So investing in the teaching and support services offered by the library can increase the employability of the university's undergraduates. See, howsoever strong is a teacher, a person can spend maybe hardly 8 hours in learning and research. So a person can only gather, there's a limit to what a person can gather in a particular field of activity, whereas the library has the information and research from all the experts in that field. So those students who spend a lot of time in library and those who do library centered learning, they can definitely do well with higher exams and competitive exams, research and other activities. So the utility of library is more than stressed in the present scenario, where a lot of information is available in electronic format, and even the researchers are unable to pinpoint which information is the best, because librarians are able to help the user with those resources which are accessed the maximum. They definitely have an edge over other resources. So librarian can at least pinpoint and direct the student or researcher to those resources. The ability for source and manage information and to use electronic resources and technology effectively are skills which are highly valued by employers. In the case of in campus recruitment and all, those who spend good time in library and those who learn that sort of a library supported, library centered learning, they have an edge over other students in placement. And universities with libraries that spend more on materials and employ more staff also have greater retention rates as far as teachers and students are concerned. And we are short of time, let us finish here.
Thank you so much, sir and ma'am, for being here, and also collectively talking about technologies and issues in academic libraries. Of course, I wish that we had more time and we could go on and on with this, but we certainly would like to thank ma'am and sir for being here and for collectively talking about this topic. So thank you so much, ma'am and sir, and thank you viewers. Thank you and have a wonderful day.